because every time he throws it, he gets countered.
Oh, he's starting to shut up, and he's about out of there. A few right hands. This is it. Yanez puts him down. Oh, my gosh. Choked him right down. It's a first-round knockout.
What's going on, everybody? This is Season 1, Episode 13 of the Rise SG Podcast, and we have UFC fighter Adrian Yanez on for a podcast. Say what's up to the podcast, Adrian.
Yo, what's up, my guys? How y'all doing? Y'all doing good? Hopefully y'all are doing great.
Dude, once again, thank you for hopping on the podcast. It really means a lot to have you on here. How have you been for the past 3 months?
Man, I've been amazing, man. I've been amazing, man. Especially after the fight, the last recent fight, man. I kind of did like a little bit of trying to recenter myself and all that stuff because like kind of put me in a bad place. But then after like I kind of got over it, kind of started talking to like people who've been through it with me, been through it, and just getting their how they think, honestly, it's just made it just like a thing of the past for me. So, for me, man, I'm good. I'm great. I'm healthy. Living life.
Yeah. How's the fight camps been treating you since that fight against Rob Font? How's that been?
Yeah. So for me, after that, man, I took some time off. Was kind of sit on the sideline coaching a lot of the guys. Trying to stay a part of it. I actually after that fight, I had gotten a little bit bitter, especially around the people that like, not my inner circle, but the people around it, who were like kind of just saying, I'll give one example. There was this one guy, who would call me the Mexican Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
And he was like, before the fight, he was putting me on a pedestal and all that stuff, but then afterwards, he was talking a little bit of shit to my coach, not to me, but to like my coach. Like if I was the one training him, that would never happen. I'm like, what, bro? Shit. I was like, yeah.
What?
So I was dealing. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are going on, and then even like other drama, other things. I didn't pay attention to any of the internet stuff, because the internet's gonna be internet. But it was like other people, like not in my inner circle, but around it, where it's like making me like, man, like making me want to be feisty and like jump on shit and like, but yeah. But after that, man, once I like started like getting away from all the negative stuff, like it got better. And then I started talking to my coach Eve Edwards, talking to a lot of like people, just talking to people like in general, and just trying to get a certain type of like, see where like I should be at mentally and all that stuff. And it's been working out. It's been good. And then I went to International Fight Week. Got to talk to a lot of fighters, and the one person who actually like helped me out big time, with him, he probably doesn't even know it, but like Dominic Cruz.
Really?
Talking to Dominic Cruz, like for like at least like for the 10 minutes that I was talking to him, man, helped me out a lot. So, that was cool. That was absolutely cool. Like especially hearing that from a legend and all that stuff. So yeah, changed it. Started training again like back in May after the doctor had cleared me. So, was training for fun, but at the same time was still trying to look for a fight because I definitely want to get the taste of defeat out of my mouth. I'm trying to go out there and get back in there and get back in the win column and, show up and show out.
Yeah, dude. Heck yeah. Yeah, going off of just where you're at for the past, after that fight against Rob Font, dude, you're a fighter. Before those fights, you were 5-0 in the UFC. You had that Contender Series fight you had in 2020 where you won in 39 seconds. Dude, it's a lot of, like, I've talked about this with a lot of fighters. everybody has that low, you know, and you went against a UFC, in my opinion, a UFC legend, Rob Font, fantastic fighter. Um, People have those lows, and you know it only gets better from there because you're gonna know what you need to do next, and it's just like it's a wake up call. You know, I don't know how you feel about that, but it's just, in my opinion, I think you know, like even I think it's incredible that you had that talk with Dominic Cruz, at amazing legend. Having a talk with him is just like a fighter that's been through stuff like that. It's also telling you, giving you wake up calls and saying, "Oh, he's been through this and he's giving me advice." Like, you know, it's incredible. It's like, what was your like general thought going into that, and just being like, "Oh, wow, I'm sitting here right now with Dominic Cruz and he's telling me what to do on my next fights and stuff like that." You want to share a
Yeah,
little bit he talked about?
yeah, no, it was cause like he gave his own personal experience. He's like, man, is like, cause we're talking, we talked for a good minute. He's like, man, like, do you think that like the fight defines me? He's like, no. He's like, I see Cheeto, right? Like, cause we're there International Fight Week, and there was like everybody there. He's like, you see, you see, like, I have to see this motherfucker. He's like, I have to see this motherfucker.
Yeah.
He works for like ESPN too. It's like, so it's like, well, like you don't, do you think that, do you think that defines me? It's like, no, that doesn't define me. He's like, do you not think like all this stuff that goes on in the fights now, the fights, do you think that's gonna be like bothering? He's like, of course it's supposed to try to bother you, but it's up to
Mhm.
you whether you let it or not. You know, like you live and you let go. You know, it's like, why try to control the things that are uncontrollable? It was like why? Because the minute you try to do, that's when you start getting frustrated. That's when like you start putting this extra damper in yourself. It's like, just live, let go, man. Like it's not the like, treat it as a cloud, because 1 minute it's here, 1 minute it's not. You know, so uh, once you learn to live and let go and know that none of this defines you, you know, you'll be in a lot better spot. You know, that's the kind of like the general concept of what he was talking to me about. Because man, that he ended up almost being like my therapist for like about 10 minutes. So it was pretty cool, man. It was pretty cool. He was like, yeah, no, he's like, pretty much. It was crazy because he was like, yeah, that, like, Rob, like, Rob pretty much did what you do to people. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, he pretty much, like, what you would do is you would hurt people, put them in a compromised position, go in there, hit him with your slick boxing, and put him out. He's like, he just showed you a mirror, and now it's in front of you. Now you don't like it. He's like, it's like you're on the other side. It's like, but does that still define you? And I'm like, no. He's like, it's like, I know what I did. He's like, I know you probably already looked at it. You've looked at the technical side. You trust your coaches. You trust your technique. You trust everybody around you. Is like, so what? So what? He's like, are you gonna let that define you? And I'm just like, sitting there just having to think about it. I was like, yeah, that shit doesn't define me. So it was cool, man. It was super, super cool just to have that conversation, especially with like a legend like Dominic Cruz, man. Like I looked up to him growing up, like a lot of these guys, man. Again, like it was
Yeah.
even weird stepping in the cage with Rob, because uh,
Mhm.
I was
Yeah.
saying it all in all interviews leading up to the fight. I was like, bro, like, I don't think y'all understand. I watched this guy's debut in the UFC, and
Exactly.
like a month or two before, I made my professional debut.
Mhm.
I debuted professionally, in I believe it was 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
Uh, so whenever he made his professional, like when I made my professional debut, he was making his UFC debut. So I was like, man, that was cool because I admired how we fought. I admired how he was going for the kill. He was going out there and just he was hurting a lot of people. So I was like, I like that. And
Yeah.
I was watching him. So whenever I was across the cage room, it was like a little bit of a weird concept. And uh, like and that fight showed me a lot too. Like it showed me, like, within the how short it was, I was able to kind of learn. I learned a lot. I was able to get away with like I was able to get away with certain things against other fighters. Not as good as Font or like these guys who are in the top 15 and all that stuff. I I can be super technical. If I needed to be like uh like against that fight against Davy Grant. Like
Mhm.
I stayed tight. After I hit him with like two hard shots and saw that he wasn't going out, like I immediately switched my game plan to go to backup number two. I was like, all right, cool. Well, he could take a mean punch. He could
Yes.
take my punch. So now I'm just gonna touch for just enough damage. Not trying to wear myself out. I just need to put up some volume against them, counter, be slick, don't get caught.
Mhm.
And you know, kind of going back even to the times before, man, I was able to get away with a lot. I was a little bit more tentative. I was a little bit more scared. Like whenever I fought Victor in my debut, I was well. Actually, no, we'll go even before that. Whenever I fought Brady and the
Brady
contenders,
Juan, yeah.
uh, yeah. So whenever I was in there, I was tight. I was technical. I really didn't give up anything. Wasn't trying to give up anything.
Yeah.
My debut, I was able to get away with certain things. Not be tight because I hurt him with the shots that I was able to hurt him with. So it
Mhm.
let me be loose. That fight with Gustavo, I took that fight super serious because I knew he was dangerous. A lot of people kind of had counted him out. A lot of people were saying like, give me a whole bunch of hype, and wasn't believing it. I was like, bro, like I know he's a dangerous motherfucker. He has heavy hands, great wrestling, great jiu-jitsu. So I took him super serious, and I was able to like, with me being the way I was, like nice and tight, cerebral. Like I was able to put him on the third. My next fight against Randy Costa, I was like caught me by surprise. I was able to adjust. Wasn't really kind of like putting myself in like too terrible of a position. I was staying defensively sound for the most part. Enough where I could be able to fight out of spots. Then fight my way back into the fight. I was able to make the right decisions. That Davy Grant fight, I was able to change my game plan like within an instant. Instead of going for heavy
Mhm.
shots, start picking my shots and place a hard shot every once in a while. And then after that, was able to fight. Got the fight with Tony Kelly, and I was able to get away with a lot. Like the punches that I was throwing, I was like trying to take his head off. Whenever I started off technical, but once I saw that I was hurting him, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna fucking throw with everything. And I was able to do that with guys. Like I was able to like just sit and just say fuck it, like a lot of times, and just fucking throw, and not give a fuck about the technique. So whenever got the call to fight Font, I was like, I took him serious. So everything like in the training camp went great,
Yeah.
phenomenal, man. Everything was like on point. So in the fight, like everything, that first minute was exactly how it was supposed to go. I planned on low kicking him. I planned on low kicking him more, fighting behind my jab, setting up counters. Make him uh, make him not want to throw because I wanted to initiate throwing while he was throwing. But me being off the center, cutting angles. Go to the body, go to the head. And all that stuff. Like diversify my attack,
Mhm.
and pretty much once I had heard him, like I heard him, like in the fight, I heard him. I remember seeing something different, and I was like, "Oh, I can finish him."
Yeah.
And then I turned into like I like to call it a meathead mode. Like I went to meathead mode.
That's
All
good.
that
That's a
technique
good
went out.
way to put it.
Every I went in meathead mode, and then I was throwing heavy. I started throwing heavier shots,
Mhm.
trying to really get him out of there. And he caught me. He caught
Yeah.
me on the way in, like with a jab, and that was like once I got hit, me not being able to snap out of the mode I was in,
Mhm.
like because instantly I got jabbed. I was like, oh
Yeah.
fuck this guy. I'm gonna go after him. Like fuck him, you know. Uh, that was also kind of like the rolling downhill what happened for me.
Yeah.
And like in that moment, I was like, like Kelly would touch me a little bit, Davey touched me a little bit, like Randy touched me a little bit, so I was able to like, and I was able to fight my way out of it, fight my way back into those fights. Uh, this one with how like he stayed within his game plan even while after like getting hit, had him hurt. He stayed within his game plan. He was looking to collar tie me after the slip on the inside, and I've noticed I got away with a lot of stuff instead of like, uh, I was able to get away with some stuff. So I was slipping on the inside, trying to throw overhands and hooks, like trying to throw jabs at the same time. But he was throwing his jab for a different reason. He was trying to throw his jab to collar tie me, and so once he got that collar tie, he knew exactly where my head position was at. I was, uh, I don't get credit for it because of the Randy Costa fight, but like I do like do like moving my head. I do like kind of planting my feet, just kind of using my head movement a little there and a little here, a little there. But I wouldn't do the due diligence of having my other hands tight. And I was like,
Yeah.
because I'd be like, man, none of these guys have like my boxing and all that stuff. They can't touch me. You know, uh, that Randy Costa fight was an anomaly because most of his fights before he was throwing nothing but high kicks. Uh, I didn't know he knew how to throw a fucking straight punch to save his life. So seeing him throw straights was like, uh, surprising for me at that moment. So after the collar tie from Font, like, and he threw an uppercut, he threw a knee, he threw an uppercut, and I just remember just being like, "Fuck this!" Like I started trying to throw heavy with him, and I was catching him with shots, in those exchanges as well too. But at one point, right before I was able to like sit back and be like, "Oh, like I'm in trouble." Like, "Oh shit!" Like I hit me way too late that I was in trouble,
Yeah.
and I needed to switch my game plan up,
Mhm.
switch not switch up, but like start fighting tighter. Like I took a like got out of range, took a little jog, to try to be like, all right, cool. But then I saw how fast he was closing the distance. I was like, I need this guy off me. Let me throw some heavy shots at him, and that's when it kind of just ended up being a harder downfall. I should have just
Yeah.
been more on my bike, using my jab, started doing a lot more different things that I actually had trained to do. But me in that mode, that meathead mode, was just like, I'm just gonna throw heavy shots, and yeah, I got caught in a transition where I loaded up on the right, loaded up on the left. I just barely missed my left, and he was able to hit me with the right hand. Because whenever
Yeah.
I threw that left hook, like it was like all like I had saw that he had level change, so like my hook was lower than what it used to be. Then instead of being up top, so instead of like I loaded and I threw and my left, it wasn't in the position it needed to be, and I got fucking caught. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was like how uh in those moments, that's how the fight had went.
Yeah. I mean, there was a point because I watched that fight over and over again. There was a point in that fight where you guys were having that battle where it led to the knockout. It was like you said, you had him on a caught where you had a shot on him and it went through. I saw that, and then it was because I saw like you said you could tell like late in you were like, oh shit, like, oh, he's closing in. I saw like it going through that, and it was just like it was a really good battle. And when he had that knockout, the I saw you did throw that hook, and you were like this close to hitting it, and I just it's just like going off of what Dominic Cruz says. He's like I like totally agree with both of his points. Like he's saying that that even when he saw Cheeto Vera, like you're gonna see Rob Font, you're gonna see all these fighters like that you've lost to, and it's like you can't let that get in your head because one day you want to fight him again, and when you fight him again, you don't want that to be in your head because it's gonna be one of the worst things that's gonna haunt you. There's I know it may not seem like it may not haunt you, but it will if you think about if someone thinks about that. Because and I think it's for any fighter. Like if they fight somebody and they lose to pretty, if they lose to them and they're gonna think about it. If they ever fight them again, it might be in their head. Oh shoot, this happened. But yeah, like it's good
it,
advice
it,
for what's up.
oh yeah, like well, even then, like, just to add on to that point, like it was a weird moment for me as well too, because I was like, after that fight, it kind of solidified what I'd already thought, that like I belong up there,
Yeah,
because the
dude.
stuff that I was doing early like worked. Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I mean,
You know,
dude,
so
look at all those.
it was like a weird. It's like it's hard to explain to people who don't know and haven't been there.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
when like I guess it's called like they call it the rub or some shit. Like it's a
Mm-hmm.
like you're around somebody who's really good, a legend and all that stuff, and all of a sudden you get the rub, you know. And like
Yes.
after being there with a guy like Fawn, I was like, okay, I know what I need to do better. I
Yeah.
know what I need to do to like to up my next level. Even like whenever I had my training sessions with Aljo, I knew I was like, oh, okay, this is what I need to be working on. This is what I need to do better. This is why like I was lacking for the longest time, like and I wasn't doing enough of. And you know, like I was able to implement and bring in uh some coaches at the time, you know, because at the time whenever I went up with Aljo, like I had no coaches at that time. Like
Mm-hmm.
I really
Wow.
only had a coach, uh, like maybe like about 5 weeks before my fight with Tony Kelly. So like
Okay.
I for like about a year I had no coach. I was just kind of training myself. So that Davy Grant fight was actually me and my training partner Cameron and Rafion Stotts like went through that whole training camp. Went that whole training camp with just us, just training.
Wow.
So like I had no head coach, no nothing, you know. So because he had passed away to COVID, you know. So like
Wow, dude. I'm
5 weeks
sorry.
before my Tony Kelly fight, that's whenever I actually had started working with a coach, and then after that, you know, now I got Eve Edwards in my corner. Now I got my Muay Thai coach, Michael Chase Corley, as my striking coach, and then I have my strength and conditioning guy, Coach Phil. So yeah, like it took it's it's this thing that now I have the right people around me. Now I know if that makes sense. Now I know, like even being in there, I know the result wasn't what I wanted, but now I know, like, hey, I belong in there with those guys.
Exactly. Dude, just like going off of your all your fights in the UFC, think about it. You've had 4 KOs in 5 fights before you had this Rob font. You won all 5, right? And you won a decision against Davy Grant. And he, like, there's gonna be those fighters where you take these shots and it's gonna, like, these guys are gonna be some strong motherfuckers, and it's not gonna go through. But it's like, it's good what you did where you mixed it up. And I mean, yeah, that fight went your way, won a split decision. But yeah, like I was just saying, it's gonna go like that where you're gonna go against these really well-rounded fighters where, I mean, you are the better fighter, but they can take punches, and it's crazy because there's not like, I mean, it can only go so far with some fighters, but once in a blue moon, there's these fighters that do take those punches and they don't go down, and it goes that way, goes decision.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. That's why, like, whenever I was like, I'll even say for that Davy Grant fight, I was like such in the weirdest position.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, I went through that camp with no coaches whatsoever, and I still had like a mindset of just
Exactly.
like I had the mindset of just like being able to like, okay, you know. And so like it was like kind of this weird transition because I was still kind of like, uh, you know, because everybody who I had fought at the time was coming off wins and all that stuff, and I just saw Davy Grant. I think Davy was the only one that was coming off of a loss, and that he fought Cheeto Vera before that, but he was like starching everybody who was in front of him before that, you know. So,
Yeah.
uh, so seeing that, I was just like, I was like, I need to stay tight, need to stay technical, and then like I think I also I kind of was like, I knew he had power, you know, and I kind of forgot that Fonthead had power at the same time too. So I was like, he was a veteran. He was one of those guys like I had again like even going before that fight, I was calling him a cockroach. I said that in the most respectful way I could because I was like, dude's a cockroach. You just can't fucking kill this guy. You know,
Yeah.
no matter how hard you get this, like how hard you hit him, he's just gonna be like one of those guys you just can't fucking kill. And I was like, I should have always kept that in the back of my mind, but I didn't, and I paid for it, you know, because I got started getting sloppy once I started hurting them and all that stuff. So Yeah. Like I wish I had, I guess, like the same type of mentality of being like, no, I gotta switch it up. I can't put myself in an uncompromised. I can't put myself in a compromised position against a guy who's a legend in the sport. You know, like the same way I treated Davey is the way I should have treated Font. You know, because
Exactly.
like even though
Yeah, I
Davey
agree.
didn't really hit me with any solid shots,
Mm-hmm.
like solid shots on the chin or like any like uh other things, you know, like Font was able to do so, but I still stayed tight and technical, even with like me like knowing that I had just like rocked him and all that stuff, you know. So, uh, yeah, I should have took a little bit of a page out of that David Grant fight.
Well, like, dude, it's also going back to what that talk you had with Dominic Cruz, because on that second point, because I brought up the first point, the second point you had with the mirror with Rob Font, like, I really agree with both, like, I totally agree with both of his statements, but I strongly agree with what he said about the mirror with Rob Font. Both of you guys are fighters who's had like knockouts, just complete knockouts, and I mean, both of you guys are like similar in fighting. Both have really good boxing game, and man, it was just yeah, like you that night he was a good fighter. Yeah, I mean, it was really good for you to see, like Dominic Cruz said, it was good for you to see the mirror, and it's like I said, it's a wake up call, and seeing that it's just sometimes it does happen, and I mean, you guys probably will maybe rematch or something like that will happen, and you'll know what to do next. You know.
Oh yeah, nah. Uh, it depends on how the careers go.
Yeah.
To see if there's a
Exactly.
rematch. I would like me, like personally, would like a rematch.
Mhm.
Just because I'm just like he fought the best version of me at that point in time.
Yes.
Not taking away anything, but I know I'm better, especially right now. Like especially right now, like in the mindset that I am right now. I know like that fight would be going a different way, but I can't. Again, I can't always remember. Gotta live and let go, you know, because it's a new fight, new day, new, new different scenario and all that stuff. Because uh, let's just say I go out there October 14th and just absolutely just like manhandle uh Jonathan Martinez, you know,
Yeah.
go out there and do that. And let's just say his next fight actually coming up soon, like he gets absolutely flatlined, you know, because he has a tough
Mhm.
fight in front of him. I was like,
Yeah.
how many more does
Sanhagen.
he have? Because he's been in the UFC for close to 10
Almost
years.
10 years.
So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, so
Damn.
it's like at what point does he start to like think about like, oh well, like again, he
Retirement.
was one of those
Yeah.
guys that I considered an idol and all that stuff. Like he's a guy that I looked up to. So it's like, how
Mhm.
many more does he have initially? You know. So, and then
Exactly.
also at the same time, like it's like, would he want to fight me either way? Like,
Mhm.
would that fight even be on the table for him? He'd be like, well, like let's just say Chito Vera, and Pedro Munoz, Chito Vera wins. You know, he loses against a Corey. You know, I think him and Pedro will probably be the next fight after that. You know, just because it feel like both those guys are legends. They've been in the sport for a while, so uh, it'd be easy to make that fight, you know.
Yeah. I
Because
mean.
it just depending on the timing and all that stuff. But yeah, like there's a lot of factors that go into like if a rematch would even be possible, you know. So you know, kind of gotta live and let go. Like best way to explain it is my coach Eve Edwards was like he's like, hey, Dustin Poirier lost to Michael Johnson.
Yeah.
He's like he's like, hey, look, he always wanted to run it back, but like, hey, sometimes you're just never gonna get that chance. He's like,
Exactly.
as much as you want to, you're probably never gonna get that chance. So hey, like, pretty much same sentiment as Dominic Cruz. Live and let go, man. So,
Exactly.
luckily for me, I have a lot of legends I can hear and like talk to and be like, oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, man. That's probably the best way to think about it and put it. Just because, like, you got these legends here that are telling you and that what they've been through, and it's similar to what you just went through against that fight. It's like it's like life changing because when you hear something with a veteran, it's just like it's crazy, and you're just in this situation where man, I get to sit here and listen to them, and like I've gone through what they've gone through, and now you see Dominic Cruz has achieved a lot in his career, and it's just like you're having this chat with him. I mean, you're gonna do the same thing. You're
Yeah, man, and it's crazy because like man, like you can see like people like again like even going back to the Dustin Poirier, the example. I'm just like looking at him like he went on, he lost, came back, went on a win streak,
mm-hmm.
and like he's never let the losses affect him in a certain way. He just always came back like, all right, time to nut up or shut up, and got up every single time. So, that's that's actually like a really great example to be like, a fighter to kind of replicate yourself after, is like a guy like Dustin Poirier, just always like, uh, no matter what, he's just like, man, fuck it. Like even in this last fight where he got knocked out, like man, after the fight, he was like his press conference. He was like, man, he's like, I know how to win like a man. I gotta lose like a man. So like, hey, that resonates a lot with me because every single hard setback he's had, he's always come back better and stronger. So, for me, I'm just like I like that. I like looking up to fighters like him. So he's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with what you're saying. With your next fight against Jonathan Martinez, how are you feeling about that? What are you thinking about that matchup?
you know, I love the matchup. Like again, like I was talking to my manager, because we both have the same manager and all that stuff. So it was
Oh,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I was, I
Yeah.
was like, I was looking at him. I was talking to him. I was like, look, man, you know me, I'm never gonna turn down a fight. I was like, but I just got cool with this guy at the international
Yeah.
fight week. He's such a cool
Exactly.
guy. I was like, I'm never gonna turn down a fight. The only stipulations I had, I wanted it sooner rather than later. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
try to fight in September, just because like a lot of personal things, but also like, man, I'd like I was talking to my manager. I was like, look, man, like you gotta realize last year I only had one fight, and within a year span, I still only have one fight.
Exactly,
From
yeah.
so I was like, from like last year at this time to now, I only had one fight. In my 2022 year, I only had one fight. And if you look at my record before, you know, three fights. 2021, three fights.
Mm-hmm.
2022, one fight. 2023, as of right now, only have one fight. So I was like, I would want it rather sooner rather than later. Want to trying to go out there and fight. That's like I want it ASAP. So there's a little bit of back and forth about the timing, and then they were like, Jonathan Martinez is like his knee won't be cleared till for him to train adequately. So October would be October would be better. So I was like, all right, you know what? Like I was really trying my hardest to get September, but just wasn't working out. Just
Yeah.
wasn't working out for the timing and all that stuff. So October 14th is a date. So
Nice.
again, man, love this matchup. It's a fun one for the fans. It's a fun one for me as well too. The only thing that sucks about it is he's
How
such a cool guy.
Yeah.
Like he's such a cool guy. I don't want to punch a guy in the face that I don't like. Like if we go back to that Tony Kelly fight, I didn't like that guy. I was so happy punching him in the face. Like I was like it was like it was fun. I fought
Mm-hmm.
Davey. Really had no like interactions before, but everybody was telling me he's a great guy. Then after the fight, turns out he's a phenomenal guy.
Yeah.
Then I fought Randy. Like my two fights before in the UFC, didn't know them. It, Gustavo was kind of talking shit a little bit, so it was like it was easy for me to punch them in the face. But I got to Randy, like it was so weird because like we're one of the few guys that they would actually like not separate, like going
Mm-hmm.
to the bus, going to the arena, and all that stuff. Like me and Randy were like hugging before like we went to go fight each other. Like we are like, hey man, like just want to say like man, it's gonna be a good one. Gave each other a hug. Like our team and their team just like hugged it out before we even went to the apex to even go fight. So
Really?
uh I didn't like fighting Randy, but I knew it was gonna be a fun one. I didn't like fighting, like even like with Davey, whenever I would run into him, like it was cool. Like it was cool running into him. You know, it was never like, oh no, fuck you. It was always like, hey, what's up, buddy, man?
Yeah.
You know, how you doing? Good stuff. And so, uh, even with Rob, man, I was telling Rob, I was like, look, man, like I really respect you, man. Like looked up to you coming up, you know. So finding somebody like that was like weird too, you know. So fighting someone like Jonathan Martinez, who like we're an international fight, we really hit it off. We're like, man, dude, you're a cool guy. You're not like any other of these guys who try to be dicks and all that stuff. You know, he's a super cool guy. Didn't have an ego about him, so it was cool. It was cool talking to him. But you know, we got to fight. So, uh, and a lot of times those make out for really great fights where two people are cool with each other, but they're just like,
Exactly.
yeah, we're gonna fucking throw
Yeah.
down. You know. Sometimes they deliver more than the people who have bad beef.
That's what I was gonna say. It's just the guys who get along the most kind of have one of the best fights. I mean, yeah, like thinking about some of the guys who don't like each other, like Khabib and McGregor, where they had that fight. It's just like, I mean, I think me personally, I think for fighters who get along great, it's gonna be a great fight. I mean, they're gonna put on a show. They both want to do the same thing. I mean, it sucks that you have to go against somebody that you get along with really well. I mean,
Yeah.
that's probably like a pain in the ass. But I mean, fans want to see it. You
Oh
guys
yeah.
both want to see that fight. I mean, you guys get along, so that's gonna make the fans love it more. It's
Oh yeah, man. I'm absolutely hyped for this fight, man. Just because, like I know what it is. Like I know what it is. Like he knows what it is. Like we're both gonna stand and trade. We're gonna go out there and try to get a knockout and all that stuff. You know, because we're really trying to make a statement. He's trying to make a statement to break into the top 10, and I'm trying to make a statement. You know, not letting the last like again like I know like Dominic Cruz is like probably just being like, bro, I just told you, like I'm not gonna let that last loss kind of like define me. I don't want like I got the taste of defeat, you know. I'm just like, all right, I want to get away from that. I learned from it, you know. Here, I lived, I let go. I want to get in that winner circle, man, because I'm trying to march forward, trying to break into the top five, you know. So that's where I'm at, and I'm trying to go out there and make a statement, you know. So uh, I know me and him are both in the same spot. He's number 13, I'm number 14, you know, and it's only like a matter of time before we go out there and just uh, go out there and try to get a better number next to our name. So, yeah, that's what we're both in it for. We're both trying to break into the top 10. So, I'm trying to make sure I get my rightful spot where I was supposed to be, you know. So,
mm-hmm.
that's where I'm at. That's where I need to be.
Hell yeah, man. That's gonna be. I'm looking forward to seeing that fight. It's gonna be a good fight between you two. Where's that fight gonna be at? Do you know?
It's as of right now, all I know it's in Vegas and it's probably going to be an Apex event.
Okay, nice. So that'll probably be main card for the both of you. I'm guessing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
they'll
believe it's gonna be a main card fight, and it
nice.
deserves to be. And honestly,
Exactly.
if I'm
Yeah,
being
man.
100% honest, that this fight deserves to be in front of an audience. It needs to be in like a big arena, just because like we both fight. Like man, look at this fight when he fought Cub Swanson. You know,
Yeah, man.
went out there to do this thing. Me, y'all know how I fight. 5 bonuses in the UFC, and if I didn't get one, my opponent got one.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
so, so yeah, man, I'm super excited for this fight because I just know it's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's crazy. Both you guys are such good fighters and going off of good successes, and both you guys are the next in coming. Like even if, let's say, like you win this fight or he wins this fight, both of you guys are gonna have great careers in the UFC. Like even going off of this loss or win, like I know this will be just a great fight. It could even be like I think it'll be like a good fight of the year. I mean, it's a lot of good fights this year, but I mean, we've seen Jonathan's put on a show. You've put on a lot of shows. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a banner. It's be a good stand up game. I think it's gonna be incredible. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for it, man. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, man. What gets you just in the like in the right headspace for your fights? Like, how do you train for them? I know fight camps, but how do you mentally get prepared for those fights?
Well, for me, man, like I'm always looking. Like I like looking into boxing history a little bit. You know, like I like watching. Like there's this guy who does really good documentaries on YouTube, Joseph St. Vincent.
Okay. Yeah,
I
I've
like
heard of him.
watching. I like watching his stuff, and I go back to the Marvin Hagler. I go back to the Marvin Hagler one that he did, and then just will start watching a lot of the guys that he's done. Uh, I love going back and watching them. Then I like watching like boxing breakdowns and all that stuff. I go to modern martial artists just to see guys like he starts breaking down like Sanchai, start breaking guys down like not Salvador Sanchez and all that stuff. Like watching that stuff. And that gets me in the mode where I'm just like I have to be tight, I have to be technical. Because like going into a fight, man, a fight's always gonna be a fight. Like no matter what feeling you have, you're just always gonna have to know that like technique is gonna be the most important thing at the end of the day, and you're trying to go out there and showcase yourself. So
Hell yeah.
there's gonna be moments where
Mhm.
like for me in that Tony Kelly fight, good. It's just a good example because I was just so like angry. I was like ready to go out there and beat his ass.
Exactly.
That emotion was different. Like I was going in there trying to knock his head off. That fight with my UFC debut, I was so happy to be in that moment. I
Exactly.
was so
Yeah.
happy to have on UFC gloves on, smelling the leather of the gloves of the freshly like came out the bag and all that stuff. So like
Yeah, I
it
bet, man.
was like I was like trying to make a fabricate a emotion,
Mhm.
and it just wasn't. It just wasn't coming at that time. I was like fucking happy. I was super excited. I was super happy to be there. So halfway through the walkout, like I ended up smiling and just being there. It's like, man, I deserve to be here. This is where I belong at. And then, yeah, every emotion was different. Like in that fight with Davy Grant, I was like, I wasn't scared. I wasn't happy. I was more along the sides of nervous because like man, like a lot of things that had went on in that camp. I didn't have my coach with me. I had new feelings. I was going against the veteran of the game, like Davy Grant, who's fought nothing but tough guys, and only
Yeah.
lost to like legit people. So I was nervous. I was like, fuck, and then yeah, like there was a lot of like I like even in that Randy Costa fight, the feelings in that fight were weird because I was like, I'm gonna have to go in there and punch somebody I absolutely like. I like Randy. Like I hope to see him do good now. So it's like kind of this weird motion where I was like, yeah, I gotta go out there and fight a guy that I like. Am I trying to fabricate these emotions? What's going on? Like I had no idea. Like even walking into that cage, I was like, all right, well, what the fuck am I supposed to be doing right now?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that first round kind of like it threw me off for a loop and all that stuff. Like going back into the corner, I was like, fuck, like I was going back into the corner. I was like, man, I know I'm fucking better than this. What the fuck am I doing? Like I'm better than this shit. And
Mhm.
yeah, so like those like emotions run differently from fight to fight.
Yeah.
The one thing that you have control over for sure is the technical side and making sure that you're trying to fire off on all cylinders. So for me, it will always be going back down to the technique and the technical side. With how weird it was the fight. Somebody who I watched growing up through the pro circuit, like, and watching like again going back to he made his UFC debut and I was making my pro debut. So like watching something like that uh was weird to me, and I was having to deal with those emotions. Me being on the main card spot, like on the featured bout spot. So like seeing that was just like being a part of that was like one of those weird like fuck, like
Yeah.
it was weird emotions to handle. So the biggest the biggest pay-per-view card at that moment, being in there, and then all of a sudden you get fucking President Trump walking into the arena and all that stuff. So it's just like
Yeah, it's
a
just
lot
all
of shit
different.
that you have to try to get under control, and like, it's weird. Like not every
Yeah.
emotion that you're feeling throughout your actual fight, and getting ready into to go into a fucking fist fight is gonna be the same. So there's a there's one thing that I really focus on, and that's the technical side.
Yeah, man. I mean, dude, not only like going into those fights with the UFC, like you said, you seen Trump walk into the UFC octagon. It's just there's a lot going on in your surroundings, and you're just like, oh shit, they're all coming to watch me fight, and it's just like that could not be like the first general thought, but it's just like, damn, they're all like here watching me. I mean, it's like I agree with what you said. With every like emotion is different with every fight. It's just like, oh, either, oh, I want to rip this guy's head off. I want to literally beat the shit out of him, or it's like, oh, this guy's so cool. I don't want to punch him at all. I don't want to do anything, or it's just like, oh, I'm ready for this guy, or like you have no emotion for it, like, oh hey, it's just another fight, something like that. Like, I agree, man. It's just like every fight you get into, it's gonna be a different fight. Like, even though I don't have experience with it, it's just like I can tell you guys don't have the same emotion every single fight, and it's also it's a good thing though, because you don't want to have the same emotion going into each fight, because I mean, like you said, with your first time having the gloves on, like that was a special moment. Like like you said, smelling the leather, being like, "Oh, I'm here. I worked this hard to get here," and it's a special moment that you get to put those gloves on, get to go out there and show everyone what you can do, and you most certainly did it. And it's crazy where this path has led you with all these fights you've had, and it's just, I mean, dude, think about it. It's all the emotions just carry on for those fights, and it's awesome. It really is.
Oh yeah, man. It's definitely one of those weird things, you know, because I get
Yeah.
to talk like it's crazy talking to people and being like, hey guys, like, hey, like everybody's around me is talking about like, man, I had to go to work Monday, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got to go to work too, because I treat it like a job too, like, but
Exactly.
also like a
Yeah.
fun job. And they're like, you don't have work. I was like, yeah, you're right. It's just a life for me. It's a lifestyle for me. So, like being able to fight in the UFC, like it's pretty fucking cool, you know. But at the same time, I still treat it like a job. So it's like it still gets a little bit weird at times, whenever you talk to people and be like, they're like, no, you don't have a job. You have like one of those.
Yeah.
You have
Exactly. I mean, dude, think about it. It's like, yeah, it's UFC. Being the UFC is a lifestyle. Like, I don't know about it, but it's just like, dude, it is a job. Like, you guys are getting paid to fight, have these fights, work hard for it. It's like the same thing with professional sports. Like, if you're on a soccer team, just treat it like work when you go to training. Then you have games or like big events. So it all could tie down to work. I mean, you guys work hard for this. You spend all your time just training for this sport. And it is, I do agree, it's like a job. I mean, yeah, I work a 6:30 to 3 every single day, Monday through Friday, and it's just like, you guys work. I mean, training and training is, I mean, yeah, it's different. A lot of people who think they work and they get mad because you guys make more. It's just like, um,
yeah.
it's just, I mean, they're gonna say it's not work, but think about it. You guys are putting in more effort than we do at our own job. It's just,
Yeah.
it's crazy, but it's also a good thing because you guys, it's a dream you guys have, and you got to chase your dreams.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely the way I put it, man. I again, man, like it's a thing that I'm blessed to do, because like, again, I had like almost everybody telling me not to do it. I couldn't make it. It's a pipe dream. So that the fact that I'm here is also one of those things where I'm just like, yeah,
E-
fuck you guys. I'm out here doing something,
exactly. Yeah.
like I'm out here doing something. Y'all are out there, still working like a bullshit ass job. You don't even want to work, so. But
Yeah.
also, again, I also met a lot of people who actually like absolutely love their jobs, like, so
Mhm.
it's like,
Yeah.
uh, so like I'm not like not like with what I just said. I'm not shitting on anybody who like doesn't like their job or anything like that, because at the end of the day, whatever pays the bills has to pay the bills. I
Exactly.
understand. But yeah, again, if you're just gonna talk shit about somebody not liking your own job, hey, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Exactly. Dude, it's like I mean, I do this almost the same thing every day. I work outside, so it's not like bad, but I honestly love my job, and it's like, yeah, it pays bills, but it's like I know a lot of people with their careers. It's like you gotta. I know you get this diploma and everything. All these people want to. I mean, like, dude, college really. I mean, I went for a couple years. It really wasn't for me. I mean, everyone should go for their dreams or give it a chance. It's just the thing they should do, and it's like, yeah, this job I have is not like a dream I have. Like doing this stuff is a dream I have, starting this company with all my friends and stuff, but and all these people I've met, and but it's just going off like this job I have. It's fun. It's like you don't want to. There's some times where these people are working in jobs that this bullshit job they don't like. They wake up and they're like, "Oh, I gotta go. I gotta get into work because this sucks." Or like, when am I supposed to leave? They're asking questions like that. But it's just like, if you like your job, it goes by quick, and it's
Oh yeah.
that's kind of how I put
There
it.
was there were certain days whenever I had my regular day job
Mhm.
beforehand, man. Like I liked the people that were there. The job itself sucked, but like the people around it was what made it like an
Exactly.
amazing
Yeah.
job. So yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I get exactly what you're saying. So it's like,
Yeah, going back on my point, it's also the people that make the job great as well. Like I work with all a group of guys, and they're really great people. I mean, they're not my age because I'm young. I mean, 20 years old, but still, I'm like mature for my age. So it's nice talking to people that are close to me, or like that are close to my hometown. It's nice. There's actually a question I want to ask on the Rise SG. We're doing a thing where we ask about their why. So like your why is, why do you do this, or who is this person that inspired you for this, or why do you keep going every single day? So I want to ask you, who is your why, or what is your why for fighting?
so that is a big question, and
Yeah.
it's a complex answer. So the reason why I got into fighting
Mhm.
was growing up. My dad was a boxer.
Okay.
You know, he was a boxer, amateur boxer before he went into the military and all that stuff. And then hearing the stories growing up about how he's like like some of his boxing tournaments would go whenever he won the Golden Gloves and all that stuff. And then on top of that, watching the fights, watching boxing fights almost every Friday night fights, and then Teddy Atlas commentating and all that stuff, and then also at the same time being able to like have that bonding experience with my dad and all that stuff was cool during those moments. My why is because it's like something I love to do. Like I knew what I wanted to do at a young age. I
Mhm.
wanted to be a boxer whenever I turned like I was like 9 years old. Wanted to be a boxer. Didn't have the opportunity to join a boxing gym. At 15 years old, I joined a jiu-jitsu gym and was able to have my first amateur fight at 17. So it was just one of those things for me that like I fell in love with, and I knew immediately. Like I